Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. And good morning, Dave. We are we are back in person. How about that? We are back. Woo! I see we have a guest today. Our district director, Avis Brody, is in the house. Welcome, Avis. I would like to invite up Jackie Kenny, who is our inspirator this morning. Jackie.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Good morning, everyone. So happy to be here in person, awake and ready to go for what is always a very good morning, camaraderie and new tidbits of information, sharing and enjoying each other's company. I think we're very fortunate and privileged here at AM Lockport to be sharing time together. So let's do this, everybody.
Thank you, Mom. I'd like to have everybody stand up for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Are there any announcements from the floor? Beth, do you want to talk about the dues? You want to come up and for Zoom? All right. And Tracy, you have an announcement too? Okay. All right. There you go, Beth.
Yes, the dues are due. 66 if you pay with cash or check, but if you use PayPal, please pay the 68.79 so we do not incur the fees. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Beth. Tracy, would you like to come up?
Thank you, everybody. As you recall from my speech last week, I'm working on my DTM project. It's going to be the Harvest Festival September 28th and 29th at Margin Manor. Over in the corner, I have flyers, so you can please take one and post it at your workplace. There's also a sign-up sheet in case you wanted to come and help us out. They're 2-hour increments, so please sign up, please take flyers. And just as a reminder, anybody that forwards those posts on Facebook, you get entered into a drawing for a free t-shirt. And if you come help us out at Margin Manor, you get a free t-shirt. Thank you.
All right, let's get this meeting underway. I would like to invite our Toastmaster today, our immediate past president, Kate.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. There's a little kerfuffle going on in the room. We have beverages. We have a barista, Dave. He's got our coffee. We've got refreshments brought by Dave Licata, Dave Licata and Marty. Thank you, everybody. Feel free to step up during the meeting to get any refreshments that you would like. All you folks on Zoom, we wish you were here with us in person. We know it's not always practical. We'll enjoy extra refreshments on your behalf. All righty. I would love to welcome who's here on Zoom and who's in person. It looks like on Zoom we have Sylvia, David Jones, Phil Russell, Marshall Song, Margot Bittner. Am I forgetting anyone? That's who I can see on the camera right now. I think we probably have anybody, and I can't see. Looks like it's good. In the room, we have Nancy Ferry, Jackie Kenny, Eric Schneider, Mike Florio, Dave Channon, Mary Cavanero, Jill Roaring, Steve Smith, Tracy Farrell, Carol Halstead, David Licata, Marty Johnston, Joe Budnick, Beth Banks, and our newest member who we are inducting today, Zach Brado. Very exciting. And of course, Len, who was here over an hour ago, I think, folks. So let's give an extra round of applause to Len and our tech team. No Larry and no Mark today, so it's all on Len. So please be kind. And Len was very gracious to me. Folks, remember, you're supposed to send video or PowerPoints to Len by Monday before a meeting. And he was kind to me and is assisting with a video today. So I'd like to start the meeting off with just a quick video pertaining to our theme, Won't You Be My Neighbor? Gives you time. It's about 2 minutes long, so it gives you time to get refreshments and get situated here in the room. We even added another table. Great work. So thank you so much, Len, and thank you all for listening to that. I think that brings up some memories to the surface, just this music to most of us. Doesn't matter your age or generation. This is something that transcends. It doesn't matter where we're from. Marshall never saw this TV program. For kids, we talked about this a couple months back. So thank you, Joe Budnack, for springboarding this theme with his electric company theme. And then out of that came my thoughts of Mr. Rogers and Daniel Tiger, the spinoff new version for kids today. I'd like you to take your coffee or your water or whatever beverage you have at home or here, and we'll lead with a toast and a challenge. My challenge is to everyone in here. I hope that you make it a beautiful day in your neighborhood. Make it a beautiful day in your own neighborhood. Cheers to that. And with that, let's get right to our roles today. We have 3 amazing prepared speeches, one of which will be our induction. So following along in your agenda, you can see that. All right. I would love to invite our roll holders to the floor. First on Zoom, our amazing Margot as our word master grammarian. Margot.
Good morning, Toastmaster Kate. So the word for today is gracious.
Gracious.
Gracious means pleasantly kind, benevolent, and courteous. And that is one way I would definitely describe Fred Rogers. I'm also going to be tackling 2 more roles. I will be your counter. I will listen for the ahs, ums, pregnant pauses, and so's. And of course, I did not put on my tiara this morning because I had Lions last night and got home a little bit late. But I will be your grammarian. So please, no double nouns, watch your tenses, and all that other stuff I'm always picking on everyone for. But that's the way we can elevate our speeches to the next level as we all strive to be a DTM. Toastmaster Kate.
Thank you so much, Margot. Let us be gracious to one another. Give others grace in your lives, and don't forget to give yourself some grace. We're all here improving ourselves every day. Our quote master today, also on Zoom. Marshall, do you have a quote for us?
And members and distinguished guests. My quote today is from The Great Gatsby. In my young and more vulnerable years, my father gave me some advice that I have been turning over in my mind ever since. Whenever you feel like criticizing anyone, he told me, just remember that all the people in the world haven't had the advantages that you changed my life. I used to like criticize someone who failed something or who made some mistakes. I thought, oh, even like me, was born in a poor village, not high, not handsome. I can do it. Anybody can do it. But actually, we always don't know how rich we are. We are healthy. I have father, mother. Maybe others is single parents. Maybe others suffered some in their childhood. Now I can understand others. Yeah, that's a wonderful sentence. Thank you. Go back to Tuesday.
Thank you, Marshall. You say that sometimes. I'm not handsome and I'm from a small village. I think you're very handsome. You need to remember that. Mr. Rogers would be not the only one to say that, Marshall. You are amazing. Every time you visit us, we get a little glimpse more into you. Our jester today, are you ready to come up to the microphone? It'll be Zach Brado.
I was thinking that exact same thing about Marshall, how handsome he is. I have two jokes for you this morning. The first one is, why is it so inexpensive to host a party at a haunted house? Because the ghosts bring all the booze. Joke number two. What is the difference between someone who is well-dressed riding on a unicycle and someone who is not well-dressed riding a bicycle? Attire. Thank you. Dad jokes.
When you're a dad, you're even extra allowed to give dad jokes when you're a dad. So great work. Okay, how about we'll go right in order of this agenda. And while you're queuing up in line and following along, we'll introduce on Zoom Phil Russell as our general evaluator. So be on deck, the rest of you. And Phil, as the GE, what is your role today?
A new thing going on. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our guest. Through the miracle of Zoom, I'm here because I too was at a late meeting last night and could not make it this morning. And I think that's one of the greatest things that's happening. We can meet in person. I'm glad you're meeting back in person. But for those of us who can't make it, this is a great opportunity for us. And that's wonderful. As the general evaluator, I'm going to primarily evaluate the evaluators. I also, when I have control of the meeting, will evaluate whatever else I want, possibly the Toastmaster, the meeting itself. But the first thing I have to make about this comment about this meeting, I love the theme because I understand Mr. Rogers, Fred Rogers, was the most genuine person ever. I saw his movie, the movie about him, and oh, it was awesome. And he was like that in person wherever he went. So again, Kate, what a wonderful theme to start off the day. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Phil. Our timer today will be Mary. Mary, come on over.
Table topics is 1:30, the green, yellow at 1:45, and red 2 minutes. Speakers, 5 is green, yellow is 6, and 7. Red is 7 with a 30-second buffer, but Marty, do you want me to change it up for you?
So put red at 4, so you have a heads up.
I'll write that.
Okay, I'll help you with it.
And then evaluations is green at 2 minutes, yellow at 2:30, and then red at 3 minutes.
Is this your second time, third time? I know it's still new for Mary. So thank you to those of you sitting around her to assist with the lights also. We appreciate you guys. Okay. And Tracy Farrell, not quite on deck, but she's coming. She is Quizmaster, so it's not a prepared role, and she can listen carefully and ask some questions at the end. Here you go, Tracy. You can leave it.
I am so sorry. I already do have one question for everybody, but I forgot that I have to come up and tell you about it. I'm going to be listening throughout the meeting. I'm going to be asking everybody questions at the end. And yes, there will be grading. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Tracy. I think we have introduced all our roles until we get to table topics. Okay, the clip that you just saw at the start of the meeting is from the 2018 documentary. The 2019 movie is what Phil referenced, where Tom Hanks played Mr. Rogers. And that was, so the documentary was called Won't You Be My Neighbor? And the movie was called A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Those both probably bring back some feeling, whether you've seen them or not. I would encourage you to. A lot of people think, oh, but well, Fred Rogers was something different. When you think of some people who make huge impact in the world, well, there was just something about him. I'm not like that. That's not me. And then, if any of you are into sci-fi, you think like about the time travel. We're not supposed to go back in time. We might upset the time just by one little thing. Just one little thing could change all of the future, but we think we don't have it in us to make change that can impact the future. When we think back and we think if just that person had done something that different, it could have changed all of history. It doesn't matter if they're renowned, it really doesn't. We all have something in us that can trigger amazing things. In the next 8 weeks, there will be a lot of not neighborly things happening all around us. All around us. If you're on your devices, even more. It is something we cannot avoid. With the campaign season deeply upon us, there's a lot of different opinions in this club, and I'm glad for that. I love that we can still be neighbors, be neighborly. Remember that during this time of the chaos, that the above, whoever the above is trying to sow divisiveness, create divisiveness. Look at one another as neighbors. We all have something in us, just like little kids, the same basic needs. Needs start with shelter, start with food, but there's more love, connection, a place to feel accepted. I love that we have that in this club. I know it's a little rosy-eyed, it's a little optimistic. I tend to be an idealist. That's what's kept this world going in a lot of ways. So I would love to launch into now table topics, our impromptu speeches. We will have 3 called on by Sylvia. Sylvia, the floor is yours. And use the word of the day, gracious, everybody.
Thank you, Kate. I was just going to remind people this morning to use gracious. Great word, Margot. And Kate, the theme is great. It put a smile on my face watching that little clip. And it just makes you feel good. So I'm going to give Nancy Ferry an opportunity this morning to come up and talk about my first question, if you would, please.
She's on her way.
Great. Morning, Nancy. We haven't seen you in a while, so I thought I'd give you this opportunity to do table topics. I know you must miss it.
We all need an opportunity.
Yes, it's an opportunity. This morning we saw in the clip, there was many little skits of Mr. Rogers and his cardigan sweaters. He is known for that. The cardigan sweaters, a red one, a blue one. He had many colors on this morning. Is there something that a person would see and automatically think of you? It could be clothing, maybe a favorite cup, a TV show. What do you think, Nancy?
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. I'm not sure that I have any outstanding anything that somebody would remember me for. Hopefully, maybe some of my speeches, my compassion, my kindness, my graciousness to many people. I did want to share that I met Mr. Rogers and he was not wearing a sweater. he was at our convocation speech. He was our convocation speaker at Colgate Rochester Divinity School the year before I graduated. And I was at the graduation, well, one, because he was there, but also most of my best friends were graduating. I was taking the slower path as I had children who were home watching Mr. Rogers on television. It was a wonderful opportunity, and I felt that I felt like I was one of his kids in his neighborhood when he got up there and spoke. He didn't speak to us in a demeaning way or anything, but I just felt part of that group and part of that his graciousness and just being sucked in by his personality. Just fabulous, fabulous speaker. He actually had on a suit and tie, which kind of spoiled it for me, but I enjoyed it very much. And it was one of the highlights of my life.
Thank you, Nancy. Sometimes being a good neighbor is hard. And I would like David Jones to tell us something that you've done that a neighbor may have come up to you and thanked you for.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster or Table Topics Master. That was a gracious question. Maybe. I don't think it was gracious.
It's a tough one.
It was just an interesting question. When I lived in Miami, which is where I was born and raised, we were expanding our family. And when my younger daughter was born, we had to buy a bigger house. We went to a HOA community called Country Walk. And we found the junkiest house in the neighborhood because we could afford it. And the first thing I did was I sent out a letter to all of my neighbors. I hand delivered it saying, I know our house looks junky, but we're going to start fixing it up, painting it, doing all that stuff. And we did. I was always painting it myself. We didn't have the money to fix it up, but we started making it look nice, doing the yard. And then one of my neighbors came over and he was part of the board of directors. There was like 1,700 homes. It was a very large community. And he asked me to be on the board. And I didn't know anything about it. I was confused. And I got involved in the board of directors for the association. And whenever I do something, like in Toastmasters, I'm all in. So I became board member of every single board there was, security, newsletter, entertainment, and just became a great experience for me. And that was kind of something that I was proud of, that we took one of the junkiest houses in the neighborhood, made it beautiful, and then also contributing to the community by being a part of the board. I got these awesome signs throughout the neighborhood that, they weren't just the regular green signs, they were more decorative signs. So I helped do the community well by making it look really nice. And it was all because I reached out to the neighbors and they reached back and said, thank you for fixing up the house and be a part of our community. So thank you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you, David. Actually, my third question would really tie in with that. That's a great answer. I'm going to let Mike Licata come up, and I have my last question. Being active in your community is being a good neighbor. Do you belong to any volunteer group or community group that present or past?
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master, for this opportunity to speak this morning. Volunteer organization, no. I'm part of the generation that is not a fan of volunteering because there's a key word in volunteering that you don't get paid, and like overvalue. I think part of my problem is I overvalue my time a little bit more than normal. So I am part of a community organization, the Lockport Umpires Association, but the wonderful little thing is it's a part-time job, so we all get paid for it. I do find that given the opportunities growing up to volunteer, it was one of those experiences where you do feel fulfilled, but it becomes hard because some leaders aren't as gracious as you think when it comes to the volunteer experience, and they overextend in terms of treating you like they're signing some kind of paycheck, which usually is not true whatsoever. I think it is important to volunteer. There's many different organizations, whether it's Rotary, whether it's the Lions Club, the Sunrise Optimists do a great job with children. I do think that there is a volunteer organization out there for everyone, because I think as people get more selfish, they definitely do not take the time necessary to give back to the community. And I do find real value in giving back to the community because you do feel satisfied in some ways. And I do need to do more, but I also admit that I'm not well enough to give back in the way I should. Thank you, Madam Table Toastmaster.
Thank you, Michael. Right now, I would like to ask Margot for a word count.
Of course, be happy to. And Kate mentioned changing world for the better. And Mike, I'll give you 2 points for mentioning the Lions Club. And I think Phil and Len and Steve will all agree with me on that, because that's what we do as Lions. For the word of the day, all 3 of our contestants did use it. Nancy did use it twice. Dave, you used it properly. It was fine. And Mike also made sure to use it within his speech. So that is my report for now.
Thank you. And our timer today, Mary, could you give us the timer's report?
Everybody qualified? Nancy 138, David 144, and Mike 155. Do I collect?
Hey, thank you.
Sure. Mary's coming around to collect ballots or vote online if you're on Zoom. Thank you very much. Great job, Sylvia, and all our contestants today, Nancy, David Jones, and Mike Licata. We will now move, you know what, we're handing the ballots around. Okay, perfect. Fill out those ballots, tear off the bottom portion, the typical. I would love to get into our prepared speeches. There's a little bit of, all right, side noise going on. Just get your ballots in. Thank you so much. I would love to invite Jill to the floor. She is evaluating our first speaker, Carol Halstead. Come on up, Jill.
All right, everybody. Our first speech back in person after a while. Ooh. Carol Ann is doing a speech, and I did not write what path she is working in. Bad me. Presentation mastery. Okay. She is doing the inspire your audience speech. She wants to inspire the audience. That's pretty self-explanatory. And I'm reading this here. This is from Toastmasters. The purpose of this project is for the member to practice writing and delivering a speech that inspires others. The purpose of the speech is for the member to inspire the audience. To the point, I guess. So Carol Ann Halstead, her title is VIP for D. Carol Ann.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guest. Our youngest daughter, Deanne, was born with a visual impairment. As one of the ophthalmologists explained to us, when the eyes are developing, it's like a globe, which starts at the top and goes like this. In Deanne's case, her eyes stopped developing at one point near the bottom. And this left her with a portion of her iris, which wouldn't be too much of a problem. The portion was missing, but also a portion of her retina was missing, which does definitely affect the vision. when she was young and we had seen eye doctors, they suggested that we contact the Blind Association of Buffalo, of Western New York, to see what programs they might suggest for her. And when she was 3 years old, we found out about a program called the VIP program. And what it was is a visually impaired preschool. Her first day that she went was a little bit distressing to me because she was very excited about it. But then when the bus came, because she was bused there, and the location was at the Jewish Community Center on Delaware in Buffalo. So she had a long bus ride. And she walked out of the house excited. And then as she headed to the bus, she's going, "Mommy, Mommy." And of course, I felt a bit of guilt, but she enjoyed it there and never was upset about going again. On recently, Jill had a theme of color, and she did mention she wondered how blind people obviously had no concept of color. But I remember in their class that they had markers and they had a scent to them. Each color had a certain scent, so that the children, even though they had no concept of color, they could color something appropriately because of knowing what color matched a certain scent. And they also, if a student, particularly a student who was blind, dropped something, they didn't pick it up for them. The teachers would come near the object, tap their foot, and then the child would be able to find it. And a couple of the students had albinism, and one of them was a student of color. And this is quite distressing because the child doesn't look like the parents. And actually, I guess there's groups to help these people of color that are affected by that. And in the there was great communication with the teachers there. They had a notebook that they sent home every day, and they'd write down concerns, and the parents could also ask questions. And they had a playground in good weather. And at times they had open houses for the parents or other relatives to come and see the school, and they often had speakers. And one of them was Elizabeth O'Donnell, who was the founder of SABA, the skating for the blind and handicapped. And our students in the VIP program were able to go, I believe it was to Nichols School, and enjoy some ice skating with adaptive equipment. And I think that this was a good start for Deanne, because then when she went to regular public school, and also did have a vision teacher there to help her with any accommodations she needed, but it gave her a good start. And I think very inspired by teachers who see a need for to teach special needs children, and that's very inspiring. And also, they're good neighbors, like the Jewish Community Center. Although it didn't matter what faith you were, they provided a space for the visually impaired preschool, and which was very neighborly. And also the Elizabeth O'Donnell, who saw a need. She loved skating and she wanted everyone to be able to love skating. And people like this, I think, inspire us so that we can always remember there are many ways to be a good neighbor.
Thank you, Carol Ann. Our second speaker will be Marty giving induction today, and his evaluator is Joe. Joe, come on up, and you can kick it back to me then, all righty? Thank you.
Thank you. So Marty is reading from the Toastmasters Pathway, Deliver Social Speeches, his first speech. And Zach, how do you pronounce your last name? Brado, okay. And his speech title is Welcome New Member Zach Brado. And Zach, welcome. We're glad to have you.
All set? So much,
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Madam Timer, before you start the timer, just give me about 15 seconds. AM Lockport. Good morning, everyone. I handed out a couple pages for the induction ceremony, and there's a spot for the members to participate near the end about repeating the pledge of support. So everyone should have one. If you don't, you can share with the person next to you, but it's the last paragraph on page 2. The timing is 3, 3:30, and 4. Thank you. You can start the timing. Good morning, AM Lockport. We're very gracious this morning to have a wonderful new member in our presence, Zach Brado. Fellow Toastmasters, as part of this induction ceremony, we're inducting Zach Brado as a new member of AM Lockport Toastmaster Club. It's a most important occasion, not only for the member, but for our club. He's come to us to improve his communication and leadership skills. And now we have the opportunity to help him learn and grow and achieve those goals that he has. I will now call Zach Brado forward. Please hold your applause to the end. Zach Brado, please come forward and I will induct you into the club. Good morning. Morning. Zach Brado, you are joining a worldwide organization, Toastmasters International, and has helped more than 4 million people learn communication and leadership skills over the years. And self-development, you've become an important part of an outstanding group of people who are dedicated to helping one another in the spirit of enjoyment and learning. Mr. Vice President of Education, Mike Florio, please ensure that this new member has opportunities to discuss his needs and goals with the club, understand how the Toastmaster program and pathways work, and is informed of benefits the club offers as well, and the obligations of membership. Mr. Vice President of Education, Mike, would you please confirm that you understand? Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike. Membership in this club, Toastmasters International, is a privilege that comes with many rewards. It also places certain obligations on you, Zach. We are a group of people brought together to do things we could not accomplish alone. Our collective obligation is to grow and improve ourselves and share knowledge with others in the spirit of enjoyment. This means you must work diligently towards your own self-development, evaluate other speeches in a constructive manner, and in a spirit of support and sharing. Assist the club in reaching its goals, remain positive, and keep a smile on your face. We ask our new member, Zach, to dedicate yourself to personal growth, share the spirit of this great gift we have of learning with our fellow members, and keep the Toastmaster Club strong and dynamic. Zach, at this point in time, I'm just going to have you, you can read this for the sake of time, affirm your membership by repeating the words in the, that we have in front. You can go ahead,
I, Zach Brado, in the presence of my fellow members of the AM Lockport Toastmasters Club, make this firm obligation to attend meetings regularly and prepare fully for each assignment, to apply myself to the projects outlined in the Toastmasters education program, to participate actively in club activities, to evaluate others in a positive, constructive manner, to build open, friendly relationships with my fellow members, and to bring other new members into the club so they can also gain the benefits of Toastmasters.
Thank you, Zach. Would all club members please stand and repeat your club pledge to its new members on page 2, the last paragraph. We, the members of AM Lockport Toastmasters Club, pledge to support you in your quest for self-development, to provide you with positive, helpful evaluations, to maintain a friendly, supportive atmosphere, to give you opportunities to help others, and to make your Toastmasters membership a rewarding and fulfilling experience. Congratulations, Zach, and welcome to AM Lockport. You may be seated. Madam Toastmaster. Okay.
Bravo. Welcome, Zach. It's official. It's like a shirt tail cousin or something like that. I've invited family members for a long time, but I guess I have to dig into the cousins of cousins and nephews and other things like that. So welcome to the Toastmasters family officially, Zach. Okay. Our third speaker today is Mike. He's dressed for success today. And his evaluator is Steve. Steve Smith, will you share with us what you know about Mike's speech today? You want to introduce him too?
What?
You can introduce.
Okay. Share what I know. That'll only take a minute. Mike Florio is working out of the Effective Coaching Level 3. He will be doing storytelling today to do an effective storytelling, a story with a purpose. His time is 5 to 7 minutes, Madam Timer. And the name of his speech, Tales of the Deep Blue Sea, Mike Florio.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our guest this morning. My wife and I had the opportunity to go to Hawaii, and it was supposed to be, it was a trip of a lifetime, really. And it turned into really much, much more than that for us. When we got to Hawaii, we did really everything, the touristy things that everybody would do. We went to a place called Mount Haleakala and we watched the sun come up. We whale watched. We went to Lahaina where unfortunately in Maui, it burned to the ground. It was terrible. We whale watched, which was amazing. And we did the road to Hana, which was an incredible tour of the whole countryside. It was beautiful. But this day, one day, we decided we would take a little break, and my wife would have a book to read under, on the beach, and I would do a little snorkeling. And I said, okay, you just relax there and I'm going to snorkel. Someone had told me that, some of the sea turtles, they're huge, right? And if I was lucky enough, I'd be able to see one. And so I went out snorkeling and my wife stayed with her book. And I happened to see 3 of these huge sea turtles. Okay. And they're huge. They're about the size of a beetle, right? A Volkswagen. Okay, they're that big with wings on them. And to swim, not wings, but their feet. Anyway, I was really close. I mean, I was really close. You could reach out and I could almost touch it. And I was too close. A wave came. A wave came and it pushed me onto the turtle. And I grabbed onto the turtle and I was so afraid and it took off. It took off. I couldn't let go in time and the turtle went deeper into the water. It went by this night, in the blink of an eye, I was 75 feet under the water. And all of a sudden I go, I got to let go. So I let go and I didn't think I was going to make it back up. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this creature came and it had wings on it and it grabbed me, this creature. And all of a sudden I felt like I was in this cocoon and it spoke to me, all right, through kind of like a mental telepathy, right? I could say, all right. And it said, you're going to be okay. You'll be all right. You can breathe. And I could breathe. It was amazing. I could breathe. And then it started to take me deeper into the ocean. And it was dark. And it was deeper and deeper it took me. And all of a sudden, I could see a light. And I thought, oh my gosh, is this an angel? Am I dying? Am I going to heaven? And I kept going deeper and deeper. And the light got larger and larger. And all of a sudden, I could see that it wasn't just a light, it was a city. It was a city underwater. And as we got closer, I could see that this city was huge. It was big, massive. And then what did she do? They brought me underneath. It was almost kind of like it was in a bubble. And it brought me up inside. And there were people there. And they were gracious people, right? And they talked to me and they showed me around. They showed me around the city. There were thousands of people and they lived there. And I thought, wow, how do these people exist this far underwater? And they showed me around and they taught me, they gave me all these different foods and everything. And I said, how do you exist down here? They go, well, we take the seawater and we take the oxygen out of it. And that's how we breathe and we live under here. And we like it here, And so I go, wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. And they go, well, it is amazing, but we have to be careful here. I said, the people up top, the top landers, they called them, they tend to, they pollute. And what happens is the screens where they pull in the water, they get clogged. And they said, you have to go back and you have to tell people that they have to live life a little differently. Don't pollute, be kind to each other. And I go, okay. And they showed me around for a while. I'd been there for almost half a day. I said, hey, I think I have to go back. I think people are going to be looking for me. So they, okay, we're going to take you back. So they bring me back up to the cove where I was. And I go back and, I'm in a hurry to tell my wife. And it was weird. She was there. The first thing before I said anything to her, she goes, wow, that wasn't long. You weren't even gone 5 minutes. Didn't you not see anything? I go, did I see anything? Somehow I traveled through time and space. And I had only been gone for 5 minutes, but I had been gone all day long. So my wife, I told her what happened. She goes, you were in that coconut juice. What were you drinking? You got to relax. So it's been years. I haven't really told anybody this story until today. So be kind. Don't pollute. And I don't even throw a gum wrapper in water anymore. Madam Toastmaster.
Well, if Tall Tales is on the docket for contests, I think we have a contender. We shall see. My goodness, may I have a timer's report, please? Mary, come on up. Thank you for keeping track on a more challenging day, not just the traditional. Did everyone qualify?
Yes, Marty almost went over though. Carol at 6:16, Marty 4:27, and Mike at 6:41.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Now, get your ballots out, vote for your favorite speaker of the day. If you're on Zoom, of course, it will be a poll. Thank you, Len, for arranging that. Mr. Phil Russell, would you like to introduce our evaluator team today, or would you like me to do that? Dun, 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 dun. I think Phil will do it. Oh, he's muted, however. Unmute yourself, and you look like you're on deck. I tried to read your lips. Maybe he can't. This is why we all need to learn sign language from Dave. Did you try to unmute yourself? Yes, he says. Try again. There we go.
Finally unmuted myself. The control room finally got to me. Now I have to go to the agenda to see who I have to do. Now, our evaluators. All right. First evaluator, evaluating Carol Ann Halstead. Let's bring up Jill Roaring. Jill Roaring.
Thank you, ma'am. No rush. No
rush, yeah. Fellow Toastmasters, and especially Carol Ann. VIP for D. Doing very nicely, creating titles that are intriguing, Carol. And as I was listening to this speech, it was incredibly, wonderfully fast moving. I was listening to the speech, watching you, writing things down, and you're obviously coming to the conclusion, and I'm thinking, she's not going to make time. And then I looked and it's yellow. Oh, that's the mark of a good speech, involving people to the point that they aren't thinking, when is this going to end? You also did a fantastic job of explaining Dee's condition and the many facets of her life and her classmates and the challenges they faced and the things they had to do to make up for those challenges. And you did it without relying on notes, at least very much. Once in a while I saw you looking down, but I don't think you had notes. I think it was just gathering your thoughts, which is where the one thing that you could improve on is your pauses, your ums, because you were trying to gather those thoughts. And I shouldn't be one to talk about that because I have the same issues. The gestures you used were fantastic, although it would have been nice to see more of them. I got to thinking, if you were sitting around a fire telling this story to all your friends, you would have been more animated. But like I said, the speech was incredibly fast moving. It was very effective in telling us what was going on in D, and your trepidations and her successes in seeing what D had to deal with. And it was neat that you tied it into my recent being Toastmaster. So thank you, Carol. That was very enjoyable. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Jill. It's always nice when the speaker gives a little shout out to his or her evaluator. Okay, giving an interesting evaluation on an interesting speech. Come on up. Joe, please join us here at the lectern. Very important speech today. A little out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joe.
Once again, I just want to say, welcome, Zach. Welcome to our club where we'd love to have you. You will have a blast. So thank you for joining us. Marty, you excelled as always in your vocal variety, great stage presence, and you were very welcoming, very accommodating. And I'm sure you made Zach feel very welcome. I remember you're the one who introduced me to Knights of Columbus, and you made me feel very welcome too. So that is one of your great strong points, is making people feel like they're at home. And very knowledgeable about our club, about its policies and what we need to do and what we like to accomplish. And that was something you excelled at as well. If I had to say the seasoned Toastmaster like you, any improvement? Okay, well, don't rely on notes too much. I understand when you were reading the policy and what that sort of thing you had to read, but like maybe position your notes where you could look at our audience better and more eye contact. And that's something I'm trying to do too, and move out from underneath the lectern, because I know it's kind of like a safe area here. But very wonderful speech, very inspiring, very welcoming. And I look forward to your other speeches. A seasoned Toastmaster like yourself, I learned a lot from listening to you, and have learned a lot from listening to you over the years. And once again, Zach, welcome aboard. I'm sure you will have a blast. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Yes, you will. Thank you so much. And Steve, our final evaluator for today, evaluating A Tall Tale by Mike.
Thank you. Tales of the Deep Blue Sea. Oh, I enjoyed this. You started this out like a perfectly normal tale. You're going on vacation. You're enjoying Hawaii. Everything's wonderful. You decided to go snorkeling. And then, like the Twilight Zone, and pardon the pun, things took a deep dive. And you did a marvelous job of crafting this story. We were all drawn in. I did not mention that it was a tall tale when I introduced you deliberately, and no one knew, but we soon realized he's having us on here. But it was a great story, and you got quiet when things were really getting strange. Your vocal variety was excellent. I did see a few hand gestures, which is one of the spots I think you could improve. More gestures, a little more wild. There's a turtle. Now I'm hanging on for dear life, and just get more theatrical with the whole thing. Another thing might have been interesting if you'd have had props. Say you brought some snorkeling gear if you had it, or maybe a nice picture of Hawaii with maybe you and your wife in it. Anything like that to add to the story. The story itself was excellent. I have no flaws with that. And you actually had a call to action with all this. Don't pollute. That was beautiful. You told us an entertaining story, and it had a message. And I was drawn into the whole thing, as I'm sure everybody was. It was a good job. It was well done. And I thank you for sharing us with that today. Thank you.
Mhm. It absolutely happened. I am sure of it. All right, a timer's report on our evaluators, please. Mary's coming up. It looked like they qualified.
I think they all did. Jill at 2:39, Joe at 1:30, and Steve at 1:37.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Mary. Fill out your ballots or the poll online, please. And remember, the top part of those ballots, please jot down some love notes, as we call them, to our speakers today. As Mike Licata is coming around to collect the ballots, he can also collect and deliver your notes, or you can deliver those yourselves to our speakers today. Bravo, everyone, Carol and Marty and Mike, and thank you to our evaluators, Jill and Joe and Steve. Phil, are you ready, or shall I give you a moment? I can also continue talking. He looks unmuted.
I
Perfect.
need to be muted. I need to be unmuted. I need that thing that's unmutes me.
We can hear
I'm-
you. You are doing great. Would you like to evaluate the evaluators, etc.?
Yes, Madam Toastmaster. It was a great meeting. Let's start with that. Very gracious. Now, the one thing for you, Kate, on this topic with the graciousness, there are 3 forbidden topics. And if your parents didn't tell you, I will tell you now. You should never speak of family, politics, or religion. It always leads to controversy. Kate, one thing I love about you is your enthusiasm. It brings the whole meeting to life. It's wonderful. I want to welcome Avis. I hope I pronounced your name correctly, and it's good to see the leadership. I think the new leadership that's coming through District 65 is just excellent. It's doing a great job. Let's move on to our evaluators. That's the most important thing that my job is. Jill, you did a great job of good ideas from your speaker, Carol Ann, and you gave some good ideas on improvement. One thing that I think you missed that you should bring up to Carol Ann is protecting the lectern. There was a pause where there was no one at the lectern, and we have to protect the lectern. One point of improvement for all of us. Very balanced. Then we go on to Joe Budnick. Again, very balanced. He did a good job. He also had good hand gestures. For all of us, you have to understand that an evaluation is also a speech. It needs an opening, a body, and a conclusion. And I think all of you did it, but just keep that in mind. Make sure that these speeches that you give in the form of an evaluation have an open, get their attention, a body, tell them what you're going to tell them, and a close, and bring it to a climax. Steve Smith and Mike Florio, well balanced, good. One thing that I like in Steve's, and I like it because Kate brought it up, enthusiasm. He has that enthusiasm. He brings it to life with all of his gestures. And I think the evaluators all did a nice job. I pointed out some of the things that they could improve on, but I say they all did a good job, and kudos to our evaluators. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Phil. To kind of wrap up the topic, but I want you to keep it in your minds and your hearts, not just this morning, but all day, all week, all month, maybe always, right? So Mr. Rogers was magic, not because he wore a sweater or because he took his shoes off and put his sneakers on, because he sang songs. There's so much under the surface, right? we most often can connect with the songs and the statements, and I'll say some more so these might linger and you remember them. Remember the songs? It's You I Like, or Many Ways to Say I Love You, or Sometimes I Wonder If I'm a Mistake. Fred Rogers scratched the surface, but it was much deeper in the kinds of things that he shared. He would say right into that camera, I like you just the way you are. He was in Pittsburgh, but that touched millions of people as it grew. He would say, thank you for being you. And isn't that a good feeling? He wouldn't just touch on the happy and the positive, as we saw in the clips at the beginning. He got into the emotions of what we are and who we are, right? There's so much substance in what he did. And it wasn't just like so many other programs out there, or just so much of our common life. Like we're painting something, for example. He wouldn't say, oh, this painting is a little messy. I wish it were different. Or, oh, I got more bowling pins down than you did. Or if I get good at this game, then I will finally be happy. Fred Rogers never would think of it like, let's be a winner, or worry about not knowing how to do something. Everything is what it is. It's all allowed. The focus, just like here in Toastmasters, is on practice, right? Not perfection, practice. Everything is what it is. We're not comparing ourselves to others, because isn't that the easiest thing to do? That speech was so good. Oh my gosh, that evaluator, they're so good at giving evaluations. That's not going to help us grow as much as the times when we feel good and we encourage one another. And that's the kind of magic that he does, right? We grow, we learn for its own sake, right? So there's space for that growth. There's space. I'm reading some quotes from the Fred Rogers Institute. I'll send you the link to that and the documentary and the film via email that I mentioned earlier. Daydream. I want you to do that. Daydream. There's space for lingering and drifting and thinking about different, wondering, worrying, knowing and not knowing, and being okay with that, being okay with the not knowing. That's tough. Those open-ended questions are important, and I'm so glad you were here to share that with me today. It's deeper things that are hard and easy to understand all at once, right? It's a kids' show. So much more than that, and I think everyone in this room and on Zoom knows that. So thank you all for joining me on our journey today. It's almost 8:15, so I'd like to finish up with our final reports. So Tracy's already looking like she's ready and on deck to come up as our quiz master, and then we'll introduce Margot after Tracy. Tracy.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. And to Phil Russell's point, I was listening, and I think we talked quite a bit about family, religion, and politics today. But as Toastmasters, we've been very gracious. In the words of Mr. Rogers, thank you, fellow Toastmasters, for being you. My first question is going to be, where did Nancy attend school for a degree in divinity? Colgate. Colgate, very good. Anybody remember what was the name of David Jones' HOA in Miami? If I heard correctly, it was Country Walk.
Yes.
Yes, all right, we got it. So who is the founder of Saba? Some lady. Very good. Very good. And my final and most important question is, name 2 methods you are eligible to receive a free t-shirt from Margin Manor. Volunteering's 1. Number 2, sharing the posts on Facebook. Madam Toastmaster. You all have an A+, even though you couldn't answer the questions. You did great.
Team effort. There's a team score for everyone and someone knows the answer. Elizabeth O'Donnell, was that the accurate answer? I didn't remember that, so well done. Yes, David. Do you need to share? I mean, Madam Timer, start the timer. Just.
The interesting thing about the lady that started that ice skating thing, the Sabra, is that she works very hard with the people that are disadvantaged and have physical problems. And she also teaches youngsters that really want to get into competitive figure skating. But if you have a young child who wants to become a hockey player, she will teach him how to skate harder and faster. So I thought that was interesting. She covers the whole rink.
Do you remember her name now? Elizabeth O'Donnell. That's a good Irish name. Is she from around here? Good job. Less than 30 seconds. Is Elizabeth O'Donnell from around here? Is she local? Okay, I'd heard of it. That's amazing. Fantastic. Okay. Margot is on deck and has been waiting to give a thorough report, I hope. Margot.
Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster. So I will go in order of the WAG, word of the day, after our table topics. Kate used it, Tracy, Sylvia, Marty, Mike, and Phil used it twice. To go into the ahs and ums. Phil, the first word out of your mouth when you were introduced as general evaluator was ah. I have to point that out. The very first word. Carol, as Jill said, you had more than 5. Mike Florio had 3. Mary had 1. Nancy, there's an ah for you. Nancy had 2, and Mike Licata had 1. Now, grammarian. How long do I have? Okay.
We're not timing you. You got 3 rolls.
I know. So we had our usual nonsense, the dropping G's, the gunnas, the t instead of to, stuff. Stuff is not a word. There's many more wonderful nouns you can use than stuff. We had our restarts. We had our repeated words. We had our M instead of them. We had our sort of things and our likes. I will point out we do not need 2 verbs. If you say there was is, well, are you singular or plural? There was something or there is something. We had a couple times where people actually use 2 verbs. We need to match the noun and the verb. What do I mean? Plural with plural, singular with singular. So if you say there was and then something's in multiple, you needed there were. Your present does not need to be 1 sentence. There were some people who spoke today, and I think their favorite word was and. So you can stop a sentence and go on, but it doesn't need to be an entire sentence. Really is actually not a word. We shouldn't be using it. I did hear a few new filler words. All right, like you're asking for approval. You don't need to do that, to put that in your speech. She goes. No, she said. And Phil, I'm going to pick on you again, Mr. DTM. Who I have to do. Now that would be something to use at Lions. I think who I have to introduce might have been better. So to be a little off color, but we did have some wonderful uses as well. I liked how Kate said so divisiveness and she launched into table topics. I love Jill's little deprecation of humor of bad me and the visual impairment. A lot of people don't use the word impairment and it was great. The shirt tail cousin, intriguing. Jill, thank you for using your adverbs and ending them with ly. It made my heart very happy for those who remember my adverb speech. We accomplished and we crafted the story. So we had some fabulous words. Let's just forget the other stuff and have a gracious day improving your language. Madam Toastmaster.
Bravo, Margot. Thank you so much. Okay. Any announcements? I love that we're looking at what Tracy introduced for at Margot's Winery the last weekend of September. Some of you, I think I put it in an email as maybe a 50-50 We'll have a little mini wine tour that day anyway, so you should volunteer. Start at Margot's, hang out at Margot's, and then maybe we're still looking into it with one of our potential new members, Esther, to then go to her family's location. Becker Farms is not too far away. Probably that Sunday, the last Sunday in September. So Eric is coordinating that with Esther. We'll see, but we definitely can visit Margot's. So that's an excellent harvest plan. Any other activities or announcements going on? I feel like there's always something. Celtic Festival next weekend. Reminder, as new Toastmaster volunteers, you earn some fundraising dollars for this club if you're coming out. We still need many folks in all the teams, and it's not this weekend, it's next weekend. Please let me know if you have questions, and don't be surprised if I ask you to join us. And we're not doing a table. The last couple of years, we haven't done a Toastmasters table there since it was usually empty. We were all off doing other things anyway. And I think that's it for announcements. I would love to invite Avis up, and she can say a couple of remarks, and then Eric and I will wrap up with awards. Ooh, nice pin. Fresh back from Anaheim. Couple weeks ago, right?
That's right. And I got to see David there. And Gerald's not here today. I want to thank you, everybody, for the gracious welcome. It's always wonderful to be here. I really enjoyed it. You mentioned the contest. Would you like to know what we're going to do this year? It hasn't really been announced yet, so here's some insider information. The contest will be table topics, and of course, the International Speech Contest. Table topics. Yes, but I have a suggestion for you for your open house to have more people. Why not do a Tall Tales presentation? Advertise it in the community. Come and see an amazing talk. I loved your Tall Tale. It was really good. It was really good. I think you should do that one again, and you could just showcase your members. I think that would be a great open house. This is a great club, and it is truly worth getting up for. I was almost late. Thanks for clapping, but I have more to say. In the welcome for the new member, it says in the induction, remember, and to bring other new members into the club so they can also gain the benefits of Toastmasters. Do you know that Toastmasters International has challenged every single member of Toastmasters to bring a guest between now and the end of December? Every single member. That's every single person in this room. Imagine if the room had twice as many people in it. I know everyone's not going to bring a member every week, but please bring a member. And I mean, it's a great club. People need Toastmasters. You all needed it when you came here, and you still do, or you wouldn't come back. Who do you know that needs Toastmasters? Bring them, pick them up. I'm going to be at your house at 6:45. You better be ready. Yeah. You commented on my pin, and what gave me an inspired idea. I'm going to give it to, I don't know who. I'm going to give it to you first of all. And I think that the first person that brings a guest that joins the club should get this pin. Yeah.
Nice one. Thank you, Madam District Director, District 65 Director Avis. Oh my goodness, this is quite nice. This is lots. Sparkly and 100 years to celebrate the centenary anniversary of this amazing organization. Started in a YMCA similar to this out in Anaheim 100 years ago. So that is a challenge that's been laid down. I will probably give this to Eric for safekeeping. Those of you who know me know that I will lose this today, as much as it's valuable and amazing, except maybe I'll put it on so it's not lost. I'm inviting Eric up anyway, so I'll put it on to Eric, and then Eric, you're challenged, but we'll see if you keep it. And then, oh my goodness, this way you won't lose it. All right, so Eric is up. We're going to give our awards today. and adjourn this meeting. Well, that's beautiful. One other thing I'll say is next week, our Toastmaster is Marty. Marty's our Toastmaster, and the speakers on deck are Margot, Nancy, and Les. Alternate is Len. So Marty, do you have a theme or not yet?
Come on up.
That's okay. Patriot Day is September and 9/11 is next Wednesday. So that's a wonderful idea. I love that. Okay, Mr. President.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, no, just kidding. Our best table topic speaker winner today is Nancy Ferry.
Would you like a ribbon? Sure. I have to give you another one.
Our best evaluator today is Steve Smith.
Anybody else?
And our best speaker coming out with a new movie of the incredible Mr. Limpet, Mike Florio.
Robin's winning tickets, Mr. Kahuna. The big kahuna.
The last three numbers are 655. 655. Nancy's the winner. Sorry to burst your bubble, Dave.
All right.
All right. Yeah, I would like to say thank you all for we're back. We're happy to be back in person. And Dave, do you have an announcement? Yes, come on up, Dave.
Should we wrap up the time?
If Len, let's adjourn the meeting real quick. If you want to start, stop the time.